Hi everyone, welcome to the Happy Moms Project. My name is Liz and I am so excited to present to you my passion project that was inspired by the best gift God could have ever given me, my baby boy, Jack. Motherhood is the most beautiful, the most rewarding, and the most life-changing thing that has ever happened to me. But I'm gonna be very honest. It's also been one of the most challenging transitions I have ever experienced. 7 months ago, I became a mom to my sweet baby boy, Jack, and my world changed in ways that I never imagined. Before Jack, my business was my baby. As a multiple seven-figure entrepreneur, I've always lived a very fast-paced life, high pressure, driven by constant hustle, and that was the norm for me. I actually enjoyed it. Stress wasn't just part of my life, it's how I operated, and I really thought that I was thriving in it. Or so I thought. When Jack came into my life, I actually had some issues with work, and I found myself in the literal middle of postpartum and having to deal with phone calls, with emails, with messages, with explanations that really forced me to exert an energy that used to be really familiar, but it felt really strange at the moment. I'm now really grateful for that volatility and those changes because they made me realize something. I could not let Jack grow up exposed to the version of me that thrived in stress. I could not let constant overwhelm be the energy that I brought into my life, into his life. And that's when I knew that I had to change, not just for me, but for him. I truly believe that God shows me what I need to see in very unexpected ways sometimes. And I realized that everything that was happening for one reason. It was to birth a new me. Life was actually not happening to me, but it was happening for me. And here's what I realized. My energy as a mother doesn't just affect me. It affects everyone in my family, especially my children. I've read studies that suggest that children up to the age of 9 are really in tune with their mother's emotions. They don't just notice when we're stressed or when we're anxious, they actually feel it. Other studies explain that during the early years, children operate mainly from a theta brainwave state, a scientific way to say that it makes them really impressionable during this time. They absorb everything. They absorb the good, the bad, and the unspoken, the things you don't say, the energy that you bring around. So for example, on days when I felt overwhelmed, I started to notice that Jack would be really fussy, fussier than usual. And even though he couldn't express it, of course, he was a baby, he still is a baby, he was picking up on my energy. And this made me realize that if I wanted him to feel calm and I wanted him to be secure, I needed to be calm and I needed to be secure myself. So one day, of course, I'm scrolling through Instagram and I saw a post. I feel like that's how I get my news lately. I saw a post with a question that shifted my perspective completely. It said that everyone says they would die for their kids. But would you actually live for them? Would you regulate your nervous system for them? Would you prioritize your health and your well-being for them? This is a big one. Would you heal traumas that might be unconsciously affecting your parenting for them? Would you build a life that you truly love so they grow up seeing what joy and fulfillment looks like for them? And those are not easy questions by any means, but they're necessary. And for me, the answer had to be yes. There was no other answer because I want Jack to grow up in a home where love and happiness and a calm nervous system aren't just ideals, they're his reality. This, however, meant that I had to confront my unhealed traumas. And that's not easy. I've always been a perfectionist. I've been driven by fear of not being enough if I'm going to be vulnerable with you. Well, this mindset helped me achieve so much in my business and so much success, it was not going to serve me as a mom, which is now my main role. So for instance, when Jack cried, I sometimes felt like this really overwhelming pressure that I had to fix everything immediately. What's happening? I need to make sure he's okay. It wasn't just about meeting his needs. It was about calming my own feelings of inadequacy. And that's when I realized that if my past was influencing or has influenced how I show up in my relationships, in my marriage, and my friendships, how was it not going to influence how I parented? If I was not going to heal these wounds, I was not going to show up authentically for him. Healing the wounds isn't just about me. It's about breaking cycles. Everyone talks about breaking cycles, but what does it mean? It's about ensuring that Jack doesn't carry the weight of the things that I have not resolved. And I'm no stranger to therapy. I truly enjoy going, and I love working on myself. But now the work is going to be different. Okay. It's going to have a different purpose. It's going to be ongoing. And it's literally going to be the most important work that I'm ever going to do. And by the way, this isn't just my personal experience and perspective. There's science that backs all of this up. There's a study that was published by Frontiers in Psychology in 2020 that found that a mother's emotional regulation directly influences her child's ability to handle stress. So when we take moments to breathe, to calm ourselves, to process emotions, we're not just helping ourselves, we're teaching our children who are watching crucial emotional and stress management techniques, okay? There's been other studies that show that mothers who prioritize self-care and happiness are more likely to raise resilient, emotionally healthy children. That's what I want Jack to be. These studies reinforce that, what I was feeling was right. Self-care isn't selfish. You taking care of yourself doesn't make you selfish. It's essential. It's how you're going to show up for your kids as your best self. As moms, we're not just raising kids, we're shaping the way they see the world and their place in it. That's a big responsibility. My Jack is going to model his relationships, his approach to challenges, and even his self-worth based on what he sees in me. So do I want him growing up seeing a mom who's constantly overwhelmed, stressed, putting herself last? Or do I want him to see someone who values herself, prioritizes her happiness, and lives a life that she truly loves? The answer is clear, and it's not about being perfect by any means. It's about being intentional. That is exactly why I created the Happy Moms Project. My goal is to help moms like you and like me realize that we don't have to choose between being great moms and living lives that we love. We can do both. In this podcast, I'm going to cover topics like how to regulate your nervous system during the chaos of motherhood. That's a big one, a really, really big one. Building daily habits that make you feel like you're thriving, not just in survival mode. You deserve to be in thriving mode. Healing past trauma so you can parent from a place of love and intention, not from fear. Life is not just about surviving. Motherhood is not just about surviving. It's about thriving. So here's what I want you to remember. You are the foundation of your family. Your energy, your healing, your happiness, they matter so much more than you know. Jack deserves the best version of me, and your kids deserve the best version of you. So let's commit to being that for them. Not perfect, but present and happy and whole. This is the start of something beautiful. I feel it. Let's thrive together. Thank you for sharing a little bit of your precious time with me today. I know your time is gold, and I'm truly honored that you chose to spend it here. If this episode spoke to you, don't forget to hit subscribe so we can stay connected. And if you know a parent who needs to hear this, please share it with them because none of us are in this alone. I'll be right here next week with more tips, with more stories, and more reminders that you matter. Until then, remember, taking care of yourself isn't just for you, it's for your kids, it's for your family, and for your sanity. You are doing an amazing job. Take care of yourself and keep making space for your happiness.